Thank you everybody for coming today. Happy Earth Day to all of you. My name is Ramya. I am the program manager for the Citizen Science project for the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. Today we have a special lecturer from University of Miami, the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. Brian Mapes, Dr. Brian Mapes has a BS in chemistry from Caltech, a PhD in atmospheric science from UW in Seattle. He worked in Boulder, Colorado as a researcher for several years until he was hired at University of Miami, and he is a professor there. Before we get started, before I hand it off to him, just a few notices. If you're sitting down, if you're eating or drinking, you don't need to wear a mask, but we just ask if you get up and walk around or go to the bar or the bathroom, please put your mask on. If you need one, I have extra ones up here, and I can give you one. Also, for attending our lecture today, I have free drink tickets. So each of you get one. You get a free drink at the bar. I will walk around and hand those out once we get started. I think that's pretty much it. That's all of our notices. Thank you all so much for coming. And with that, Brian, I will hand it off to you.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Rumia and Melissa, the foundation. Thank you so much for making the wheels go around here. And special thanks to Marius Robinson, pillar of the foundation and Tai Chi teacher one time, I'm told. I'm proposing this for the post-pandemic handshake. What do you think? The Tai Chi salute? Yeah? Yeah? Maybe. We'll see. All right. Well, anyway, so again, thank you. And thank the rest of you cultured folk for turning out. It just feels, doesn't it feel, just gathering, doesn't it feel nourishing in some way? And outdoors, and we're safe, and it's fine, and yet we get to gather. And if I have one success today, it will be sparking conversations amongst yourselves, not necessarily with me, and a little education on the side. That's my, if some education is smuggled in, that's my day job, and I'll count that too. So, I should especially thank Bill here, Bill Durham, who's really the guy with the vision for this, meditation Bill, bicycle Bill, get around to it Bill for things like this, and really made it happen, reeled me in, and I've been so much enjoying getting to become friends, several lunches now talking this over, and really my best new friend Bill. Thank you very much. Oh, the traffic jam has abated, my lovely wife has shown up. Yeah. Okay, well, here we are, Earth Day. I consider Earth Day basically like secular Easter, and I am here as your science preacher man. And of course that's because every way of thinking wants the power and glory of springtime on our side. So they got it, we got it. Springtime is here, and so my general theme here is what's a naturalist to think and to do in these times, and maybe my, it's a long rumination. I'll just warn you, I have 100 brain splashes for you on this screen, so it won't take but an hour or less, but buckle in a little bit and get a sight line if you can. All right, so let us roll on here. We are here to talk about the big questions, the eternal questions. And first off, why are we here? And next, why is that man still talking? And only you can answer the first one, but I'll try to tackle the second one. Audience laughs uproariously. Okay, so why are we here? I can at least offer you a history here. So let's begin at the beginning. The Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago from a ball of cosmic backwash from universe 1.0. And I literally mean that. All our solids, our carbons, and our calciums, our metals, all these were synthesized in stars that lived billions of years and then exploded and then fell back together, and here we are. So the Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago. This is going to be a long lecture. Okay, but Earth Day was invented in 1970, also on an April 22nd, coincidentally. And 26 years after that, a man named Tim Ferriss, who I'll tell you about, Timothy Ferriss, came here and gave a a great Earth Day lecture, to this very body, although different heads, all but maybe one different heads, but the same body. And we are here on the 25th anniversary of that event, which Bill helped remember and, spark. So, between his prominence in 25 years, I took the liberty, the license of a wide scope and a high ceiling to try and fill here. And if we jump to the end, 5 billion years ahead, the sun is going to explode and vaporize the Earth. I'm sorry to break the news. Spoiler alert. And sometime between now and then, this talk will end. Timeline is not to scale. All right, so here's Timothy Ferris, local boy, hometown boy makes good. A starry night on Key Biscayne opened the universe for Tim Ferris. So amazing, and if you go Google him, you will quickly find that there's another guy named Tim Ferris with 2 S's with top 5 kick-ass startup tips. He's all over the internet with life hacks. But not him. I mean the Tim Ferris who has written 10 popular books, starting with the whole shebang, which is a feminist take on cosmology, for all I know. He also wrote Coming of Age in the Milky Way, so sort of bringing it down to Earth, The Mind, Sky, Human Intelligence in a Cosmic Context, and his last book, I think, or latest, 2010, The Science of Liberty, started worrying about the social underpinnings of free thought and, the liberal Enlightenment project, which does need full-throated, defenders in this world. All right, but his most lasting fame was a producer credit on a record called The Sounds of Earth, which is made of solid gold and was sent out on the Voyager spacecraft, where in 40,000 years it will pass within 1 light year of the next nearest star. So that's I guess that's kind of cult fame, very small listenership, but very long tail there. And this one, you'll notice, does not have any naked people on it, because that was the previous spacecraft had the naked people, and Congress did not like it. So no naked people on the Sounds of Earth. Just greetings from Jimmy Carter and from African pygmies and everything in between. So I would put him in the pantheon here of cold naturalists, I will call them. And you know the type, right? Here's Carl Sagan and the others. And so that is a very cold version of naturalism, and it makes a stark backdrop for treasuring the Earth against. But it's just the backdrop in my view. So what I want to share with you, and this is my through line for today, less cold naturalisms. And I'm going to start with my own, which is meteorology, weather, and it's very dynamic, as anyone who's sailed or looked at the sky knows, but it's inert. There is not life there. And but it nonetheless brings up some useful analogies or ways of thinking about dynamic systems that I think are worth starting with. So that is still pretty cold, maybe cool naturalism of the outdoors. But of course, the revolution is self-replicating molecules or life, or some of the astrobiologists these days have taken to pronouncing the bare minimum of life would be life, spelled with a Y. There's an English guy trying to do it. Anyway, theorists of the bare minimum of self-replicating, time-filling beings. And then, of course, we'll celebrate the multicellular world of animals and plants. And that's like, palate cleanser in the middle, lots of pretty pictures there. And then there's a hot mess called human nature that one cannot but mention. And beyond that, really beyond hot, incandescent, something called the noosphere, which is the space of ideas. So, and this is beyond our bodies. This is the space. This is the mental space where our ideas live. And even beyond that, you'll find, okay, so what are our ideas for? Our ideas are to contest against other ideas, and so let the games begin. Kind of is a theme that comes through all these things, and that is like a game view of nature, which science, real serious sober science, is starting to get a handle on the game view of nature, and I wanted to share some of that with you. And I'm going to coin a new term here, which I hope goes viral, the agonosphere, and we'll take that up later. And then, to wrap it up, what are you going to do? This is secular Easter. This is church, and I do want to end with a moral glide, and that is, where's the sanity? And I believe, in a universe of games, sanity is stance, not a strategy, not some fixed ideas. A stance is all we can aspire to. So that is my that's what we're going through. And here's number one, meteorology. So like Tim Ferriss in a way, but less prominently, my career in a way started on Key Biscayne, and at the Sheraton Royal Biscayne Hotel, which I believe might have been this pink thing over here. Some of you might know that. This is Key Biscayne, and yeah. So, and with bicycles, and I know we rented bicycles from Bill's shop in those days, not that I knew them yet. But my graduate school began with studying storms and clouds with the NOAA planes, the hurricane hunters and in Australia. And in Australia, it's summer, and when it's winter here, it's summer there, so the planes aren't busy in the hurricane season. We took them to Australia. And in 1988, I and another grad student came here, and we lived in the Royal Biscayne for 2 or 3 weeks or something, which was grad student heaven, yeah, with our own rooms, me and this other boy, and we rode our bikes daily up to the NOAA lab along that bike path, which had these land crabs scuttling around and these Australian pines. Some of you may remember it in that state. Anyway, yeah. All right, so, clouds, they're not alive, but they're so dynamic, they're compelling. And, and they're consequential. They bring us life-giving rains and death-dealing storms and everything in between. And, here's Clyde Butcher claims to have said, I've heard it attributed to other people, but this is on his website. Out west they have their mountains. In Florida we have our clouds. So there is a lot of beautiful and drama to the clouds here. And, so what are they? What do you see here? What is this? Is that a bunch of massive things standing around together like a cocktail party in the sky? Are those things things? How about if I prompt you with this? Are they heavy things? Do those clouds weigh very much? Does a hot air balloon weigh anything? Does it have a negative weight? Anyway, these are buoyant, empty. They're pieces of air that are actually less massive than the invisible air around them. They just happen to reflect light, and so we see them, and we mistake them for animals, I think. It reminds me of the joke here, fish talking to the other fish. Morning, boys, how's the water? What the heck is water? So back to this scene. What's going on here? Are these clouds competitors, or are they colleagues, or are they just neighbors, or what? How do we ponder the multiplicity in the world of cloud? And sometimes it's clear that they are partners, or more than partners, that really we should be speaking of multicellular entities. And here, on the left, you just see sort of multiple cumulus clouds kind of gathered together, and on the right here, boy, that is a lovely squall line with low clouds giving rise to high clouds, and stretching away to the horizon there. And this whole thing really behaves in a way as one system. So we talk about cells, but beyond the cells is a whole other level of entity-ship. And so we are ready. This is our first glimpse. Game on, says the big world. These cloud systems are canny survivors, jockeying for position and resources. And if any of my meteorology colleagues will be looking at this hungrily, here's a kind of a somewhat swirly shaped bunch of clouds, but it's kind of these, and will it or won't it? And anyway, there's a great battle going on here for whether a hurricane strikes Miami or not. Only meteorologists enjoy that as much as I do, perhaps. But there you go. So that is the chill naturalism of the dead world, with no memory, no time. But then you come to the next revolution on Earth is life, that is just things that replicate. You could say broadly. So what is life? It's things that replicate. It is life is long. Everyone says it, but I mean something. I mean that, yes, longness is what defines life. So, what are we going to find on this Earth in year 4.5 billion? We're going to find canny survivors in every arena. And that is what naturalism, that's the naturalist basic expectation of everything. Canny survivors of long games. So, but on the other hand, lives are short, so don't forget to enjoy today, fellow mortals. All right. So the big genius idea for life basically began in this Loif theorist version of life. It really needs to begin with containment. Everybody thinks about, the molecule that replicates itself. Not out in the open, environment. The first step is get a lid around things, get containment. So borders really define systems. Borders are a playing field for the long game. And inventing borders was a transformation, and by now we're many layers into that. There are cells within cells, all these mitochondria and things. It's pretty well accepted those, in a way a cell is already multicellular, but it's still, just cells. The largest cell on Earth, have some of you seen these? Valonia algae, sailor's eyeballs. Yeah, you walk around the beach, hey, it looks like a paintball game, kind of a clear paintball game. Anyway, that is the world's largest single-celled organism, bubble algae. So that's kind of fun and a local connection. Meanwhile, the smallest cell on Earth is 10 microns across. So a hair is 100 microns. So, right? So the cell is a very versatile invention, we could say, very versatile invention. The trouble is, cells are vulnerable to a little thing called viruses, which are very much not life. I barely give them the word life, but damn them. And really, there's no life. That thing's not having a good life. It's just a code snippet. It's very much like these internet viruses. It is nothing but a code snippet. It is the code for a container that brings the code that hijacks your body to make containers with code in them. It is nothing but that. It is it's just a code snippet, a beautiful one maybe, but it's just code. So the information age, we're ready to think about not only life as a game, code is a game, and life is a code for you computer geekheads. And by game I mean a life and death game. Let me already begin foreshadowing. I don't mean levity by the word life. So by the word game. All right, so you've all seen this big, pipe cleaner version of the coronavirus that's been vexing us. And it has these things on it that everybody likes to call spikes. And they're always red. I don't know if they're really red, but these red spikes. But then those are the parts that attack your cells and rip their way in, and right. So those little red spikes are. If we could get our guard up against those red spikes, we'd be a step ahead for the battle. And the code for the spikes is this S part here in this string of letters here. There's about 25,000 letters. That's not too many sheets of paper. And this bit here is 1,255 letters. The spike protein is 1,255 letters with all these little. So you know what some clever people did? They selected these 1,255 letters, and they hit copy, and then they went over to another computer, and they hit paste, and they built us a vaccine. So the vaccine is to beat virus at its own game, and that is. This thing was decoded in a day. We have machines. You got a new virus, boom, you got the sequence in a day. Cut and paste a section. In a weekend, they designed the counter code. And so what took a year? What took a year is double checking the safety and efficacy of all this. And but really it was done in a weekend. So here's the game of vaccine testing. Some of you maybe haven't seen the raw data of it. Heroic volunteers are gathered. Hooray, heroic volunteers. And half of them get a saline shot. They go and they get a shot, and it's placebo. The other half get this test vaccine that was engineered in a weekend.
And the data are hidden from everyone involved until a big reveal party. Weeks later, a big reveal party. So drum roll, please. How many have seen the raw, the big reveal? Red or blue? Will it be red or blue? And here is the graph. And if you thought scientists are secretly ruling the world with their savvy, is this the ugliest graph you've ever seen or not? Look, the title hangs over way beyond the edge, and it's all just illegibly inscrutable. But anyway, beautiful thing in a way. This is a beautiful artifact of science. They pushed the button, this thing was generated, and here's the result. The placebo volunteers in red, and this is weeks from the first dose. 0 here was the first dose. So 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. And the people who got the placebo, well, they just got sick and sick and sick and sick and sick. They just kept getting cases like everyone else. And some of those were severe. So that's kind of tragic, but at least science learned from some severe illnesses of human beings. That was good. The ones who were lucky enough to get the real vaccine, look at there, hardly any. And, of course, journalism has to translate all this, and the take-home is 95%. And the 95% is how big that gap is compared to absolutely 0. And that's pretty good, isn't it? Would you rather be in the blue group or the red group? Yeah, so I wish we branded this a little better. Hero immunity instead of herd immunity. Who wants to be part of a herd? But hero immunity. We're ready for it. And at least science learned from these cases. But for them, we owe it to them to go get our hero immunity. And we owe it to the ones we learned nothing from, the hundreds of thousands of people who died in air hunger that we learned nothing from. And we owe it to the vulnerable who can't go get the virus. And yourself, for Christ's sake. For Christ's sake. So anyway, go get your shots, people. I'll never understand who'd rather be in the red group than the blue group. But there you go. So, and what this shows is the degree to which life's code is now our game to play. This is the 2020 Nobel Prize, 2 women for something called CRISPR-Cas9. How many people have heard of CRISPR-Cas9? There you go. Yeah, CRISPR, it is a game changer, let me tell you. And, it is, part of a series on genetic engineering, little tongs here, We are just editing it like a document. We're editing the genomes. It can be used to edit genomes within organisms. We're editing these things like documents inside the living organism, including the germline that becomes the future reproductive chain of it all. And this editing process has a wide variety of applications, says Wikipedia, which I take as the understatement of the year, maybe the century, maybe the millennium. Anyway, so it's astounding. And medicine is one of the many good things this can be used for. Fingers crossed. All right. Well, we're ready for some multicellular animals and plants. The revolution here is that unlike cells, which are really scaled to molecules, they're about the micro scale of life. Animals and plants are scaled to environments. They're scaled to the world. Locomotion demands some scale. If you're going to swim through the water, you got to be bigger than the water, in a way. And likewise on land. And sex and mating and genetic cross-pollination across. The further abroad you can go, the more experimental stuff's going on. And all that's constrained a little bit by gravity. Bones are only so stiff, so you can only be such a size. And so there's that. There's thermal regulation. We have a volume to keep our warmth in, and we have the skin to keep ourselves cool, and there's some balance between those. So some kind of finite size comes in, hundreds of pounds of flesh is the optimum or whatever. And sunlight, of course, light and vision have shaped also all of this. And there's a lovely new word out these days. Anybody heard the word holobiont? Holobionts. It's kind of the way people look at, we are holobionts. It is a partnership between macroscopic life and microscopic life. You've all heard, I hope, that we have our microbiomes. We would be nothing without our microbiomes. They may outnumber us. And, a human being's really a holobiont if you're going to look at it from the modern biological view. All right. This is my mother, and she and I love our daily Zoom calls. Oh, I missed it today. Oh, and I was just sitting there. I could have. But all right. She lives in a memory care home, but there's a lot of bright there nonetheless. And we troll the internet, and we just love what you can find out there. Rainbow parakeets, I suppose, and maybe that's called a mandarin duck, or is that a dish? And maybe this is the harlequin duck. Anyway, there's something like that. And of course the red-footed quokka is a favorite. And there's just so much out there, above ground and under the sea. It's just a wonderland. We especially love birds and lizards, and actually, these are both dinosaurs. Speaking of evolution and science and all that, these are just two dinosaurs. And under the sea, of course, Erasmus people, there's undersea life as well. Much of it with some whimsy. And of course, our hearts actually go out to the monkeys and apes, the charismatic monkeys and apes of the world. And oh my God, I want to go to that party. And Madonna, yeah. Anyway, it's just the beauty just blows your mind, me and Ma's mind. But it's not all sweetness and light, and there are scary spiders and ugly fish. And if you're a true naturalist, and you gotta take the world as it is. And so kids, cover your mother's eyes. You can't unsee this stuff. But I would be remiss if I didn't show you. So, are we ready for the horror show?
Okay.
All right. Oh, it's the booby. The cutest animal in the world. I gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right. Anyway, what a world, right? What a world. Here more quokkas. You can't get enough of quokkas.
Where are they from?
Australia, some island off of Australia. A tourist mecca, as you might imagine. Yeah, the quokka. All right. So we're ready, but the hot mess of human nature beckons, and back to work here. Here's a statistic that you also can't unsee. Oh, there's the spider and the ugly fish. I'm glad we don't have those hanging over our heads anymore. Oh, I wonder, my slides. So, yeah. All right, got you again. All right, yeah. Oh, very good. But and it just goes on. And has anybody ever seen the peacock spider? The most amazing thing about the peacock spider is the size of the peacock spider. Do you see that this is a finger? Yeah. And this reminds me, of I know an old lady who swallowed a spider, and then how absurd, and Mom would laugh. Hey, that doesn't rhyme with spider. But this is the world's smallest bird. Anyway, it's a wonderland out there on the internet. And, it's part of human nature is we've built this amazing internet as well. So, all right. But the hot mess, all right, we have to acknowledge many of these charismatic animals and plants are endangered, many critically endangered. And, the extinct say hello, not that I have visited them yet recently, but so what can we do about this? Well, education, right? Young naturalists, naturalism, appreciation. Any kind of conservation has to begin with appreciation, everyone will say. So there's naturalism, and then of course you can get philosophical. So, I don't know if this helps you or not, but, flowering plants, beautiful thing. Look at these amazing flowers, and they're just clearly sacrificing their leaves, But, the flower is worth it. So, and I stole this from Alan Watts in the 60s or 70s. Maybe majestic earth is similarly just peopling, and yes, at a cost. But then it all comes at a cost. So, you know, some of life is being sacrificed, a word we don't like, but a naturalistic reality. Sacrificed as resources or as collateral damage. And, you know, toward we must aspire some greater glory that is worth the sacrifice, right? There we go. Secular Easter here. So you could say, well, at least billions of people get to look at amazing pictures of endangered wildlife. That is not nothing, actually. Boy, exploration. You know, if we found life on another planet, speaking of game changers, you know, we have zero idea whether life is incredibly common or incredibly rare. It's the product of a number that's incomprehensibly large with a number that's incomprehensibly small, and we have one data point, so we know nothing. But you know, if you sample the sample return mission 10 or 12 years from now from Mars, if there's like life in there, it's a game changer for our whole understanding of our place in the universe. And plus, it's super fun. And some of you maybe saw the helicopter flew on Mars the other day, and that's amazing, right? And actually, it'll help because if you notice, this little thing came off, it just crashed into the first boulder. I think we need some air support out there. But if you haven't, you know, Googled for HD Mars video and stuff, it just blows your mind how Earth-like it is, really. You know, the landscape speaks to our landscape minds, and you know, that's because it was shaped by water, as was ours. You know, there's shaped by wind somewhat, but it was shaped by water, and just the familiarity of the Mars and the high-res, beautiful imagery. Anyway, look it up. And of course, you know, glory, there's also art, let's say. So here's Mr. Natural. What does he say here? Stick with me, folks. I got all the answers. Ho, ho, yeah. And here's a little bear. My hero. So, you know, science and art are part of our glory, I guess. Your taste may vary. Yeah, so I get a lot of mileage out of, you know, just pondering, you know, the place of humanity. And I like this framing, the human blank. The human blank. How many things does that evoke? The human. What do I hear? Existence. Yeah, right. Okay. Anybody know a famous French one? How does this evoke for you? La condition humaine. The human condition. Anyway, there's so many more, and I'll share a few with you here. I just wondered if people were bubbling up with this. But, you know, when I try to think about humanity, it's nice to just, you know, it's many things. Okay, so the condition, of course, some French philosopher, predicament, the human predicament, and you know, comedy. Some will say tragedy. Some will say, oh, let's leave it at tragicomedy. But you know, these things resonate a lot with me. But mostly on an individual level, right? Our individual predicaments and conditions. There's also, you know, humanity's spirit, the human parade. The human garden. If none of you have typed radio.garden on any browser on our worldwide internet, I quite recommend it. You get a little globe like this, you can spin it around, and if you click on any green dot, you get the streaming radio from there. And, you know, they're listening to some pretty fun stuff down in Africa and, you know, China, you know, everywhere in the radio.garden. I recommend it. All right. And maybe a little more soberly, I guess, something that resonates for me is really the human experiment. What the heck is... We are clutching a wolf by the ears, kind of careening through time here. And, you know, I also like the word juggernaut, which is from an Indian festival. This is the car of Juggernaut. And it's some great, huge, towering, kind of out-of-control vehicle that rolls through the streets while thousands of pilgrims try to get out from under its grinding wheels. And, you know, there's a little bit of that quality, I think, to the human thing. And let's see, similar to bandwagon, but with overtones of devotional sacrifice, says Wikipedia. So humanity, you know, we're a juggernaut. That's an image I get a lot of. And among the ways our juggernaut is rolling over the earth, you know, you can't have a Earth Day talk without a giant garbage dump. It's a pretty colorful one, actually. There are uglier ones that I'm not sharing with you. The Nature Center right here in our very own Key Biscayne, Crandon Park has tried to, make some lovely art out of, the beach, if you've been to the beach recently. So here's the things that used to live in the ocean can now be mimicked with plastic garbage found on the beach. It's a beautiful, poignant and beautiful piece of art. Anyway, but there's just awe and wonder. What can you say? It's gigantic. There's awe and wonder, and even our futile, wastes, the things that make you slap your head, also make you kind of say, "Wow." This is in China. There was a share bike boom the other day, and they turned their industries upon cranking out share bikes, and they were so, they just misgauged the market so much that another one worth Googling. There are landfills of bulldozers stacking mountains of unwanted, perfectly lovely share bikes to be, set fire to or whatever. Anyway, it's just, what can you say but wow and yikes, I guess. Anyway, there's a big world. There's a lot of room for improvement, we could say, and there's a lot of efforts toward improvement. There are earnest efforts toward harm reduction everywhere, and I totally salute and support all those. And I'm not here to lecture you about them or scold you to do more of them, but it's what we got to do. Just keep at it, right? Make it better, make it not worse, and better, and maybe even you could say, is this place better than the square kilometer of forest that would otherwise exist here? Actually, this is in the Netherlands, where there might even be land there if we hadn't built it. So, what a beautiful thing, maybe. Just over the top, right? Landscape scale art. There's some glory. We got our messes, but we got our glories too, in a way. In partnership with nature sometimes. One big thing back in the 70s was this population bomb. I remember reading that in junior high school and thinking, this world will collapse before I'm half the age I now am. And this was in The Economist just the other day. I like I just snapshot my magazines. It's got to kind of, but here we go. The births per woman here worldwide is coming quite close to replacement level. I believe we might have leveled this ship out worldwide. Now, of course, that's not equally distributed. Nigeria is quite different than Italy. But, worldwide, we're getting the sheer number maybe down. Or, level, right? Sustainable is the word, right? But sustainable at a high level, teeming, I guess we would say. I think there's a picture of Sao Paulo. Is that not just awesome and humbling in a way, right? It's teeming, but it's teeming with hopes and love and soulmates, and it's teeming with our equals if we're going to be morally honest about it. But yes, there's some bad people there too, and so the good people need to band together to keep the bad people in the harness of a society, so we all stay fed. And so, the challenge is there. I believe dignity is natural and is part of naturalism. I mean, you could say it's inevitable, but it does need a little social thumbs upping. So dignity, I am all for dignity. Just another word that has a lot of resonance for me recently in these years. And there's so many, so how do you deal with billions of people? You need hierarchies, right? You need just tiers and tiers and levels, and there are so many levels of we, families, neighborhoods, cities, states, nations, language groups, civilizations, the human family, there's another word I didn't use, and all life on earth, some moral weight to that. And so, embracing the we is a long, tall stack. And every one of those we's can also be a they. We can go to war at any scale. And we need to be careful with the theys, because our brains have a door designed to be shut in the face of others. And And we have it, you can understand why we have it. It's a canny survival strategy from our rugged past, but it is a mega hazard for our future at every scale, going to war with one another, shutting our mind doors to each other. So their, conscious effort is, I think, required there. All right, so we walked through kind of the biosphere, if you like. I'm ready to show you the incandescent noosphere. I got the umlaut in this case, but some of the others, I don't know how to make the umlaut. Without cut and paste, copy and paste. Okay, the whatosphere. This is from Teilhard de Chardin, kind of a 70s era, same kind of era of Earth Day thinker, moral thinker. He was a Catholic priest, a Jesuit priest. And, he views, the geosphere of molecules, the biosphere of cells, the atmosphere of air. I don't know why that one fits in there, but just for me. And then there's the noosphere of thought. And this is from the Greek noos, which means mind or reason. So isn't that a lovely idea? We just got another layer wrapped around the earth, which is the layer of ideas and minds. And, you can get radically idea-centric and say people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. And that is attributed to Carl Jung, but probably not, says one of the many websites I tried to pin it down to. All right, but hold on a minute there. Was that mind, reason? As if those are synonyms. One thing, science, the sciences of the mind have also progressed in the last 40, 50 years. Mercifully, thankfully, needfully. And we just learn in more and more ways about our cognitive biases and stuff like this. And, that is an organ of the body, not a alethiometer or, truth antenna for you Golden Compass fans, an alethiometer. My favorite, just brilliant, rollicking comedy treatment of this, the great Robin Williams as the King of the Moon in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. The head is shooting around the cosmos, tidying the stars, and the body is, chasing its queen and grasping for the head. Finally the body gets the head, and I'm back, baby. It's just a timeless little bit of comedy I will recommend to you. Profound. All right. The last thing I'll say about human beings is, we're pieces on the chessboard of games, and we are moral reasoners for the games to come. I just got to tell you something, like Bill didn't know. Why are we all at each other's throat all the time? Don't we all have morality? And some people think, well, we're the moral ones and they're immoral, amoral, or can't understand their morality or anything. But there's science about this too, lovely science. And what it shows, this is politics, liberal over here and conservative over here. And they use questionnaires to contrive scenarios in which moral values are in conflict. And people are invited to say which one they prioritize over which one. Transform all that data into kind of a graph here. And you find that liberal-minded people are completely driven by harm versus care and fairness versus cheating kind of definitions of morality. And not so much these other ones. And then conservatives are really more of a mix of five. So they'll say they got two channel. Liberals have two channels and conservatives have five. And the others here are in-group, out-group, just, loyalty. Although if you look at that closely, that peaks here at moderates. That is down on both sides. So lest we say they're being out-group, or you're both being out-group is really what's going on. The moderates are in-group favoring. Authority, legitimate authority, blue lives and all that. And that slopes upward, no surprise. And the one that slopes up really the most is this thing, purity. And what do they say there? Sanctity or purity. Abhorrence for disgusting things, foods, and actions. The opposite of degradation. That is a visceral thing that we all have to different degrees. And it gets projected onto moral space in an important way, especially among some people more than others. And I suppose we all remember the sanctity of marriage a few years ago, which was a phrase one doesn't hear much anymore. And so many things are like that, I suppose. But just to know, one of the reasons we're at each other's throats is we're all moral beings with a different definition of what moral virtues outweigh others in a complicated world where they're always in some conflict. So all right, let the games begin. I'm going to tell you what the agonosphere is. This word agon, my classicist friend tells me, it's Greek for contest, struggle, really game. That's what I'm looking for with the word game. And I typed this into the Google search the other day, agonosphere. I said, I want a word like agonosphere. You type it in, and there are 11 digitized instances of the word agonosphere in the noosphere, as digitized by Google. Here are a couple of them. And they're both from the late 1800s, when all the educated people had taken their classics. And a word like agonosphere was like, oh yeah, man, nice one, nice meme. And here we go. Let's see. His position is a strong one, and he may now safely remove the cause of truth from the agonosphere of personal opinions into the calmer regions of critical judgment, right? The agonosphere where everything's contested. Here's another one, and it's a book review of a physiology book. There's a zone of strife where truth and error mingle in conflict, and where the results of yesterday have power because they are new. But in physiology, no less than the other sciences, this agonosphere is merely the envelope around a solid nucleus of acquired truth, which year by year grows larger at the expense of its more fluid and gaseous wrappings. Oh, to write like that now. I love this. I love the 19th century, except for all the 2/3 of the babies dying and civil wars and whatnot. All right, so go on, this AG stub. It's in everything from agendas to agony, which I'm mocking here with the business meeting from hell. And just to show you that, like the word game, it's which goes from tiddlywinks to war, or rock paper scissors to mutually assured destruction. Our minds seem to have striving and strife are this far apart in our minds. We are war machines barely keeping a lid on it with games. Or in other words, our games are always a little bit in danger of escalating. I learned a thing or two about games from my family. Games begin at home. So I learned a thing or two about games and strategy from my big Brady Bunch family. This is taken on the wedding day of the parents, and this is our whole crew, and I'm that clueless one on the end there, and this one taught me a lot of superior chess openings. He taught me the power of reading a book about chess openings rather than just pawns. And so I treasure what I learned from this one. This one taught me the power of overturning the table and smacking your glasses off. And there's the brute power of the game changing, right? Taking the game up another level. So I feel like I treasure my family for teaching me many things. He taught all of us a thing or two that way. That guy. He's a sweetheart now, though. Oh, and let's see. Did I have one more on there? No, that's it. Oh, yeah. Well, dignity again, right? I also learned dignity and just how groups, each and every one of us needs a niche, a role, an identity, and I will even go so far as to say a heroism. And when you're contending for a slot in a set of money siblings, you know this in a way that maybe the only children among you maybe never can quite pick up. Although you learn it in the schoolyard soon enough. So the question is, if everybody needs to be a hero, can a world with 10 billion heroes stably have supply chains that are not interrupted so that we're all fed and so on? And, that's really a question at another scale. And again, science has exciting frontiers really here of what I would call agon. I hope there's at least 20 hits on the internet for this word, say a year from now. We're going viral with this. So, agonosphere. But many of these are lumped up together in Wikipedia. I'm not going to go into them, but there's like the mathematical part of nonlinear dynamics, just how things interact, and it's nonlinear, and systems theory, kind of a way to think about the bigger system and not just the parts. Pattern formation is more just in space, you know, that's just the physics of crystals and stuff. Evolution and adaptation, there's life for you. There's the game of life for you, but also the game of economics and the game theory of everything, really. And networks is kind of sort of like mathematics again. It's a way to say things are connected without writing an equation about them, which would be too much. And collective behavior, you know, some of that's just descriptive, right? And there you go, game theory. So, you know, what class is this taught in? What school? Kind of everywhere, kind of nowhere. And, you know, but science is wrangling with this. And, you know, it's the agonosphere, I insist on calling it. One place we all encounter this in our lives is in the marketplace. Economics, you could say. And, you know, there are those who disdain business and would say economics is making the vital into a mere game, tisk. And I would have to say it is elevating the humanly vital to a game in the high sense. And a game is mature. A game is a contender for stably surviving at scale on the playing field of long time. We should be glad for things that can be turned into a game. And it doesn't mean you get to control the outcome. It means they have enough like dynamism and vitality and internal tensions and stuff that you know, they're going to last through dynamic equilibria that adjust to each other. You know, prices and supplies and all this stuff is maybe the commonplace. But so God bless economics, I would say. However we feel about billionaires and whatnot. And if it weren't for billionaires, you know, we need large-scale institutions. If it weren't for billionaires, they'd all be run by committees. Just think about that before you disdain billionaires too much. All right, but markets famously fail at the environment. So, you know, here we are. It's an environment day here. And Aristotle already said, that which is common to the greatest number has the least care bestowed upon it. Nothing new under the sun about the tragedy of the commons, which maybe the 18th century political economists of England painted out as everybody wants to graze more cows until it's overgrazed, and then all the cows die. And some, you know, there are libertarian minded people who would almost call this the tragedy of incomplete privatization. And I mean that those people are out there. So don't sell them your national parks. All right, so environmentalism, you know, here we are, and it has this problem of we need to play the game. Environmentalism needs to play the game, and we have antagonists, and we are protagonists, we like to think. And I'm putting myself on one side of it, but sometimes I'm on both sides when it's, who knows, right? So trouble is the noosphere, you know, was already full of canny survivors since forever, as all these spheres are, right? So surviving ideas already filled the noosphere before science came along. And especially, I'm afraid, about this 50 to 100 year future. Every generation since the birth of Jesus has been convinced that he's coming back in our lifetimes, this time really. And, you know, majorities of Christian people believe that, and laws of, you know, anyway, so you know, we will return to our peak of greatness. They will get their comeuppance. Our Savior will suspend the laws of nature and separate the wicked from the good, and clean up all that plastic on the beach while he's at it. So, you know, the agonosphere is not a blank slate. And, you know, absolute truth coming through. That is not going to work. That is not going to win the game, I'm afraid. And so we have to be a little bit savvy, I think. This is from the Creationist Museum in Kentucky, which great, certainly double digits. Actually, I was trying to type 30% of Americans believe, and I was hoping Google would suggest the 23 things that are. But anyway, quite a few of our fellow citizens would say that, and this is a wrecking ball called millions of years. The concept of millions of years smashing a community church, right? If you open your mind to millions of years, relativism is here and morality is out the window and we're going to be eating babies before you know it. And the climate change version of this is by 2020, by 2100, unless we ... smashing into, some people will say prosperity, liberty, energy-based comforts, affordable energy for people who are nearer the edge of economic sufficiency than we all are. And, something to contend with, right? It is something to contend with. But on the other side, nature lovers are also full of, fear. This is from my friend Gary. I told him about this. Wish I could be there. I'd love to hear your current thing about climate change. He's a psychotherapist, a former, PhD philosopher, went on to become a psychotherapist. So I was in an audience at a half-day philosophical psychoanalytic conversation among some experts on trauma. They all identified climate change as a preeminent existential emotional trauma in people reporting to psychotherapists for help. And, the fear, so, on all sides, really, the rhetoric is high. This is extinction rebellion here. Business as usual is killing us. And, the battle lines are drawn, really on all sides, and trouble with these infinities of score is infinities really ruin a game. If the score is just a little more, a little less, optimal solutions find themselves. Water finds its own level. The price and the demand and the supply, adjust, and all this. But once you bring in these infinities of identity and stuff, then it's total war. Your identity is at stake. Truth is, we don't have time for truth. Information is ammunition. And we are seeing this a lot in our world these days. And, info wars. This guy was ahead of, he invented that word info wars 20 years ago. And, is it just another strategy? Five-dimensional chess? Is this guy playing five-dimensional chess? Or is he a nihilist? And your mileage may vary. But, okay, so that's what a naturalist must think about all the levels, right up to the social game. What are we going to do? What is conservation in the disinformation age? What are the prospects for conservation in the disinformation age? So, of course, sure, let's all minimize our personal resource use. I did not come here to lecture you on that, and you've all heard it a million times, and there's nothing, I don't mean any shadow on that whatsoever. Great. But, the problem is at all scales, and we really need to seek society-scale process betterments. And so I just had an idea. Let's use our scientific knowledge to influence others and thereby influence democratic leadership. To which Dr. Evil says, "Mwahaha." I am not the... Anyway, welcome to the 21st century. As I've said, the battle lines are drawn, tug of war is, the rope is taut. And you could pick a side and pile on. Maybe what the world needs is for us all to pick the good side and pile on. But there is a lot of futility to this. And furthermore, the 51-49, year after year, decade after decade, starts to feel like a structural balance. So I just raised the question, does a balance exist for structural reasons that will just thwart any imbalanced effort? You want to spend your one life adding tension to a rope that is already taut. That may be, that may be. And bless you. Write your congressperson. Marco Rubio could use more letters. And maybe a postcard. But, and then of course, in the meta age, of course, we can tilt the playing field. I don't want to just be one of these schmucks pulling the rope. I want to tilt the playing field. So I'm going to go find the control panel where they tilt the playing field. Turns out there's a contention for the control panel to tilt the playing field. And that too is not an easy lift for anyone. That's been discovered already, you could say. So if I don't know what to do with myself, I could say, well, what could I do to influence others to act? Look, I have 30 people in front of me. I mean, 100 to the camera. 100 people are here. Okay, but how? I could tell them to go pile on here, maybe more of them for you. And you know, some of them could go join this pile, dog pile, and maybe get a handle on one of them buttons for a minute, 4 years or whatever. And the other possibility, you know, we aren't all activists. One can honor the sacrifice by being the worth it greater glory, I like to tell myself, because I am a sort of a chicken about the fighting, I gotta say. I don't have the stomach for the game. All right. So snarky memes. Will they save the world? Maybe. Look, COVID-19 is a bioweaponized virus. Really? Nobody, you know, those people who think that are sure gonna, you know, slink away in shame because of this one, right? Is that going to change one mind? Click here to find out. So there's that. You know, you can go on your social media and change the world. But like we had market economics, I wonder if we could have kind of, you know, just get mature. We need market politics, and you know, of course that exists. You know, can it just stabilize? If not, I wouldn't give it elevate like I did for economics. But if you could just stabilize collective political action into a sort of a safe game, I'd take it. And trouble is, ruthlessness seems incentivized. And ruthlessness tends to favor the less thoughtful, in my experience. And it's a problem. So, all right, and you know, I can call it immoral because, hey, those people are willfully deceiving some others. You know, but if I'm being generous, I can say all that deception, maybe it's just misguided hero narratives. I take it to be misguided, they take it as a hero narrative, and that's one side of the tug of war, and I'm on the other side, who knows what, right? So that's the generous-minded thing. You know, so, you know, back to Dr. Evil here. Can we influence others? You know, can it be done with true natural science knowledge as honest people speaking to other honest people? Can it be done? Can it be a little bit done? And, you know, it depends on the truth, depends on trust. And that's the resource we lack so much nowadays. And, you know, those are the path to influence. So one thing is just make double sure before you go influencing others that you are absolutely right. So maybe you go study more. Maybe you go come get a PhD in atmospheric science instead of being an activist for climate. There's a big question here. Should we restrict ourselves to only, you know, fact-check utterances in the space among us? Shall we subject ourselves to that standard of communication? Or, you know, shall we permit ourselves to craft adequate but simplistic mnemonics about scientific truths for lay minds? And, you know, matters that people carry around the broad right picture rather than that I lecture them too much without ever once uttering a you know, whatever, a non-factual statement. And, you know, somebody else will say whatever it means that spurs the actions that a right mind would do. I don't care what's in here. So, and that way lies, you know, deception and what I call immorality. But this is the landscape before us, I suppose. All right. Oh, we're, you know, we're ramping it down here. This whole thing I'm ruminating on has been to try and distill a stance. What would a naturalist do? What is the naturalist stance? And, you know, to some degree it is, you know, it's a hero narrative, by the way. And, you know, this is one from our times, but the Greeks had theirs too. And I would say, you know, clear-eyed, right? The world is vast. see it for what it is. That's certainly a part of it. Thoughtful. Well, I'm stuck with a lot of thoughts, so you should be too. But ideas are where the glory incubates, among other things. They're also where strategy incubates. And thought. We have thought for a reason. It's probably a useful sword or whatever, shield or both, whatever tactic. Be playful. Games optimize. Whatever you are up to, learn to do it better by playing and jousting and stuff. This is how the little game Tiddlywinks, makes you better at war, but also maybe avoids it. And let us admit, sorrow-hearted. Life is long, but lives are short. These games kill, right? All of us know someone who is not among the survivors and winners. And spoiler alert, we're not all going to make, spoiler alert, none of us is going to make it. And some of the most beautiful creatures in this universe are too good for this world. And that means this world is too bad. And down that path lies self-pity and other pity and just pity. And that's why we need a little bit, I think, of a returning to some kind of forward-facing stance. But all right, I want to leave you a little optimism. By the way, there's never been a better time to be a human being. Have you heard this? Have you noticed? Steven Pinker, the great psychology professor, has been, spending his reputation on these things. So why violence has declined. The devil's, the angels are in the details, it is said. And of course there are exceptions, but today, you'd rather be born today than any other time in all of history, if you care about life. And he's also, defending vociferously the Enlightenment, reason, science, humanism, and progress. These things do need defending. And our very own Tim, remember, went on in his latest books to worry about the social fabric, democracy, reason, and the laws of nature, or baby's bathwater and the luxury of speaking truth to power. Don't take it for granted and don't throw out the former with the latter, or whatever it is. And sometimes that means patience, forbearance, and others' right to talk shit about true knowledge. But there you go. The freedom is the important part in a way. We just got to keep at it. And I like what the Europeans are doing 1 day a week here. Fridays for the future. This is school strikes. Why should we go to school if you won't listen to the educated? Boom, right? These kids. So 1 day a week's a nice little tithe, I think, toward the long future, right? And of course, plenty of time to optimize your personal life. 1 day a week, we get together and worry about the long future. There was this blurb about this interesting Greta Thunberg, interesting person. You can tell she's playing a different game than these kids around her looking at each other's eyes. And she, when said she's autistic, she will say, and when told she doesn't understand irony, she disputes it energetically. I am irony, almost, she says. I think the world as it is quite funny. She finds the climate crisis darkly comic, especially the response in rich countries, the posturing, the self-justification, the bargaining, the denial. If you are doing everything you possibly can and you can't do anything more, then you might as well just sit back and laugh, Thunberg said, because otherwise you would get depressed. Wisdom of the young and autistic does have a certain heft to it. I'll just say in the news today, Biden commits U.S. to cutting greenhouse gases in half by 2030. Right? If the government can do that somehow, because at the meanwhile, carbon emissions on track to surge as world rebounds from pandemic. It is game on between government and non-government, and I wouldn't say either of these is a done deal, but the game is on. And, savvy, we need savvy, not just bodies on the ropes, I Where does my philosophizing ever terminate? It always terminates with my grandfather. He was an Iowa farmer that I dragged out to the West Coast for my wedding. He cleans up pretty good, doesn't he, that guy? But, you know, he just had a kind of way of saying, what a world. And I find myself saying that all the time. Or it takes all kinds. And that's a nice way to draw a line with people who differ from you. And when you pray for potatoes, pick up a hoe. Boom. And the poor will always be with you, quoting Jesus. In other words, you know, it's a way to accept our privilege. Acknowledge our privilege, accept our privilege. And, you know, pick up a hoe, I guess. All right, so that is all I'm going to tell you, and I will take any questions about clouds only. The sun's about to explode, and I'm thirsty, so here we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give the microphone back to you so you can answer questions. Just a few quick logistical things. If anybody's hungry, we have ceviche and almonds on the back table there that some of you may have noticed I ran into earlier today and broke a cup. And if anybody if they arrived late and you didn't get a drink ticket from me, then come find me. And that's all I had to say. So with that, Dr. Mapes, we will take questions.
It wasn't exactly a factual presentation with one missing detail, was it? I'll admit. Paquita, I'm sure I can hear you. That's my lovely wife.
You didn't really highlight the approach of the Greek Stoics.
Oh, the Stoics, the Greek Stoics.
I think it actually fits in well
Oh,
with your attitude.
all
I
right.
wonder if you could speak to that.
Well, no, but I need to talk to my classicist friends about how the agonosphere relates to the Greek Stoics. And I need to learn more about both of them. Thank you very much.
As I understand it,
All right, thank you all so much. And thank you, Marius, for showing up. Yeah. Tai Chi salute to Marius. Thank you so much.
Talk. We had a nice turnout, and the weather turned out, you know, very nice. The Boaters Grill and the Cleat is just such a beautiful place to celebrate on an occasion like this. So thank you, David and Raina, for opening it up to us. And I'm just going to ride off into the sunset here.